after a little hiatus. Never lasts too long. It feels like we just were recording last week. Nick, what's up, man? Saints Talk podcast back in action. Yeah, man, we are. We had a little, our little bye week. We went in, made some mid-season changes, analyzed the film, bench some guys. Some guys need more play time. So, we coming back. We're gonna have a strong second half of the season, man. So, um, got some new changes. Nick got an upgraded background. I got to get used to that, but yeah, man, let's do it. Let's do it. So, right into the Saints talk. Saints are they're going through some coaching changes right now, right? They hired Zack Strief and they're just moving some guys around. So just to kind of lead us off, like give us an overview of what they've done so far. Maybe some of the names you think we can maybe keep an eye on going forward with the coaching changes.
All right, so I was told I was on mute earlier. I think everybody can hear me now. I think we just fixed it, so
Uh-huh.
that's a live stream issue right there. So we're good on the podcast, not on the live stream. Um, so where we at? Where we starting at?
Oh, just the coaching, the upcoming coaching changes, and Street been hired, and maybe some of the other guys we can look forward to maybe change within the coaching staff.
Yeah, so I think the thing with Strief, I think it's a natural fit for him. He kind of has been someone that I've always felt like he was a natural communicator, even as a player, just holding media sessions. The way he did it was always just a little bit different than
Right.
everybody else. And it was always a little bit more informative. And he was always able to take something that was complicated and make it understandable, even for people like me and the people, I travel with in the media pack. And when you can do that, I think your ability to take, Sean's going to discuss things to the coaches in a way that's probably extremely complicated, but that's shorthand for the coaching. And if a coach can take that information and distill it down quickly and easily for his players, I think that will help them take that stuff and apply it on the field. Yo, you got a really loud keyboard. Um,
Oh,
and
I thought I was on mute. My bad.
and I think that was one of the things that Aaron Glenn did really, really well. Is also, being a player, being able to take that information. Da could talk to him in a certain way and take that stuff,
hmm
take it to the players, break it down, and they were able to understand it really well and go execute. So I think that's
hmm
something that Strief's going to do well. And I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up being somebody that has a very good career in coaching. He just
hmm
kind of feels like someone who really loves the game. I think his communication ability is going to separate him from
Yeah.
other people. And even just in his role as the broadcaster, he goes out to practice, and after practice, he's out there showing Will Clapp or whoever,
Right.
how to
Right.
do things. Or after a game, he'd be in the corner with Ramchek and Armstead, and they'd be going over, stuff immediately after the game. And it was just, he's always been kind of in that capacity. And I think going to it officially in a full time way is going to be something that suits him really well.
Yeah, I agree with you. He seemed like one of those guys who, like, there's a bunch of guys who know the game, right? And there's a lot of good players, but then you got these guys who, like you were just saying, when they talk about it, it seems like there's a little bit more clarity that you get when they're speaking. And he was one of those guys. And anyone who's been watching the Saints for years, like whenever you see a Zack Strief interview, like locker room interview or whatever the case, it was something that that you listen to and look forward to, because he was gonna say something interesting. And he was always like a relatively honest guy. He kind of gave it to you like it was, but he had like a savvy with him too. So I can definitely see the fit there. I think the Saints fans who listen to him, they lose because they have someone with that much knowledge. It's not in the broadcast booth, but if you're a fan, obviously you like to think that he's going to improve the coaching staff. So it definitely seemed like a good fit. And one other thing I'll add is, Zach Strief was, gosh, I think he was a seventh round pick in 2006. You know, not the most athletic guy. Um, I mean, he's a big right tackle, but he was a really good football player. Now he didn't get the accolades, the Pro Bowls and whatnot, but if you look at like some of the pressures he was giving up, they were like among some of the best tackles in the league when he was in his prime, and along those lines. And so, that kind of lets me know that this was one of those guys who understood the game so well that even though he wasn't this big physical specimen with all this twitch, like he was able to get the job done. And so I think, that kind of speaks to his knowledge of the game. And I think, it definitely seems like something that will translate, to being a coach. And I think the Saints obviously agree with the hire.
Yeah, and I think the other coaching staff stuff will probably be internal.
Mm-hmm.
They got Richard obviously for the DBs. He was an outside hire, but the other ones, I think it's going to be a lot of guys promoted from within. Strief was added, then that opens up. One of the O line coaches, Rauschar or Brennan Nugent, will probably go to tight ends. Would be my guess. Both of them
Mm-hmm.
have some a little bit of experience there previously throughout their careers, and then I think Ronald Curry might be the guy that gets the nod at QB coach. I think
Okay.
they interviewed John Kitna for that.
Oh, okay.
Tim Rattay, I think is how you say his name, was another name that I heard was someone they were looking at, but I don't think, at least from what I heard, it sounded like it was probably going to be possibly Curry. So, they'll probably make those announcements sooner than later, and we'll kind of see how it fills out. There might be some outside hires just to kind of fill out the staff, coaching assistants or whatever. But I think the bigger jobs will probably be, guys getting promoted. And I think that they've done a good job at adding coaches, bringing them up, grooming them, get them into bigger roles. So,
Right.
I just think that there's, in Nugent, someone wherever he ends up, whether he's tight ends or the main O line coach,
Mm-hmm.
he's extremely highly regarded by that staff, the stuff he's done. So he's more than overdue for that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Man, it just seems like they've been doing such a good job in making, the right decision when it comes to like those position coach hires, assistant coach hires. You know, you lose Mike Nolan, or you got the next guy, being developed right there in house, and ready to get him promoted, and not have really drop off at that position. I think that you could probably say they had a really good year with the linebacker, especially the results that you saw when Quan Alexander came in. They were able to get him up to speed, and playing at a pretty high level early on. So yeah, I just think that this feels like a team that I think they've earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to some of those coaching hires, and I think that yeah, I definitely think this one and some of the subsequent moves they're going to be making are, I think they're probably going to serve the team well. So, all right. So moving on. So, guys, go to the site. Go to the site. And Nick, since we last spoke, there's been, gosh, I forget how many articles. There's been a few. I know you wrote about one about trading for a superstar quarterback. Just kind of the different scenarios if you trade for a guy, draft a guy, or keep one of the guys that you have on your roster. Broke down Marcus Williams and should he get paid or not. With him being a potential free agency. A blueprint, kind of like if Nick was GM. I kind of feel like it was like Underhill / Loomis, get together and come together with what happened if there was an offseason. So there's an article about that. Article about some breakout players. You somehow managed to write an article about 30 seconds after Strief got the Strief announcement got made public. So nice way to write a 30-minute article that looks like it took the average person to maybe at least an hour minimum. So congratulations on being a good typer. But the article that I want to mention is the one where you wrote about Mike Thomas and how his game could change if another quarterback with one with the non-declining arm becomes quarterback. And I thought it was a good article. There's a we're not going to go down the article and list all the stats. There's some stats in there. There's some analysis in there. Pretty much anything you want. You guys know the deal when you go to NewOrleans.Football. So, but yeah, I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit because it was an interesting article. When I read it, I was like, okay, that's a good pod topic. So you guys can read about the Mike Thomas aspect. We're going to think about the offense more as a whole. So, Nick, if say Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, right? We kind of got an idea about what Taysom, but if Jameis, let's go with Jameis because that's the one that people want to hear about, I guess. What are some of the things you think will change with this offense as it pertains to like depth of targets? Like, just kind of talk about the transition that they went through over the last few years and what you maybe can predict what happened with, another guy quarterback.
Hey, check your text real quick. Yeah, obviously, I think that everything will change a little bit. They'll have a different setup for the offense, how they're targeting people down the field. We saw that stuff just when Taysom was in there last year. When he went in, some of the stuff changed, and just one of the things that I noted in there when Taysom was a quarterback, the average depth of Mike's hitch when he was targeted was 15 yards. When it was Drew, it was 7. And it's not because Mike runs a better 7-yard hitch than a 15. It's the same thing. It's just longer developing plays. And I went through. I noted the difference in their 7-step drops, for instance. One guy, Taysom, had significantly more than Drew, and that's just longer developing plays and a lot more play action stuff like that. And I think it'd be kind of the same thing with Jameis, that you would there'd be more 5-step, 7-step drop stuff than 3-step drops,
Right.
because that guy can allow himself more time to let plays develop, and they'll take advantage of that. So I think for all the players, look, obviously, like, Mike isn't going to be better than statistically he was in 2019. Like, that's the best season ever. I know that there's kind of the school of thought that like Drew's held him back, which I think is insane. I mean, you've seen him have the greatest season of all time, like, statistically, and that's just it's a crazy thought. But it is different though. Like, the depth of his targets, the stuff down the field. Sure, there's probably some. I won't use the word holding back, because the 7-yard slant, the 7-yard hitch, the 7-yard crossing route, the 7-yard out route, all that stuff has been accentuated to the highest possible level for him. So the idea that he's been held back is crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's more downfield stuff than other players. So, or than he's shown so far. So yeah, that will change for him, and I think that'll change for all the players. You'll see more go routes, more corner routes, more out routes at 10 to 16-yard depth than you have. It'll just be a little bit more explosive. It'll just kind of I think the 2012, 2013, all the way up through probably 2014, 2015 offense, you'll see some of that stuff come back. The 3 tight end stuff they used to do just to set up the Cook shot play. Like,
Wow.
I don't know if they'll have the 3 tight ends out there, but like these plays where they were setting up shot plays before and he was hitting them, like, you'll see that stuff again. And those used to be the most predictable plays of all time, by the way. You'd see the 3 tight end, and as soon as they got the 3 tight end look with the single high safety, it was a shot every single time. It was a shot. And I used to call those, like, people were like, how do you see, like, yo, it's just 1 safety, 3 tight ends. Like, they do it every single time, but they bait them into it, and those are the plays. So I think some of that stuff will come back. It'll be exciting to see some of that, but just, the efficiency will never be what it's been. You have the most accurate quarterback of all time, a guy that runs 7, 8-yard, 9-yard physical routes better than probably anybody in the NFL. Like, he maxed out 2 years ago, but yeah, there's other ways that he's going to attack the field that we've seen. And then in 2016, there was a lot of that on his tape too, and some of that stuff has went away. So, it's not that Mike can't go down the field. It's just he's best served in underneath stuff, shorter stuff right now, and that's how they've used him. And he's done it better than anybody in the league for the last few years.
Yeah. Good. You make a lot of good points. First one, if anyone said Drew was holding Mike back, like, that's a really interesting talking point. I mean, Drew got Mike $20 million, so I'm pretty sure Mike doesn't feel like Drew.
That's a take, though. It's a take on Twitter, man.
It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. I thought you just made in the article. It's a good point. It shouldn't be a good point though. Like, it shouldn't be. It should just be a common sense point. But like, that's like someone saying, "Man, Shaq was good, but man, if he couldn't dunk, then he wouldn't be that good of a player." Like, you mentioned Steph Curry. Like, well, Steph Curry is good. I mean, he's an average player if you take away the 3-point line. It's like LeBron sucked if he wasn't 6'8", 250. I'm like, What are we talking about?
There's somebody somewhere though that every time like Steph misses a three or something, like he never drives. Like, come on, man.
It's ridiculous. Like it's insane. And then you back it up with a point, and I'm giving away your article here. But he's like, if you take away, no, I don't even think this was the article. This was, you did an interview with PFF, I think it was, and he was like, if you take away the slant yardage, he still led the league. When they're like, well,
that on there too, yeah.
Man, it's crazy. Well, it's not just the slant, it's the short stuff. I'm like, man, you know what? Like, we don't see things different fundamentally. So let's just move on with our football lives because it's an interesting talking point, man. And
there's a lot of bad takes out there, man. The offseason has been just an insane place for bad takes. And people cutting players, trading players that aren't going to get cut or traded.
Russell Wilson, 3 firsts. Yeah. It's just like all over the place right now. My favorite
thing that's happened this offseason on social though is that like everybody every day I go down I scroll my list and it's just everybody's complaining like, when's Drew gonna retire? Like he needs to make blah, blah, blah. And then like some like my sports update like said something to like 37 days, and those same people are like, shut up, why do you care? And it's just like, if somebody from outside says something, like it just everybody rides on them. It's like
right.
The great thing about New Orleans, though, man. It's family business. Stay out of it.
It's crazy. On I think on day 31, it was like, the Falcons lost the Falcons came back. The Falcons were up 28-3. 28 plus 3 is 31. Drew's going to retire 31 days after. It's like all over the place, man. I saw the 38 days. I'm pretty sure they thought of some numerical significance to that too. It's all over the place, man. I love the offseason. I like the crazy, to be honest, I don't like the bad takes because gosh.
Yeah, I just don't like it when when a Twitter account called NFL Rums or whatever, like I don't know. They might be legitimate and they can prove it over time, but like
you're not there yet.
If I go to Best Buy and there's like some new company selling TVs, like I'm not gonna just buy it blind. Like I'm gonna go online and I'm gonna look up the Amazon reviews and look, it's like someone needs to prove it to me. And that's just kind of the way it is with reporting. Like you can buy the LG, Samsung, Sony, you know what you're getting. That's your Schefter, Ian, those guys. Like when Tom Pelissero, they report something, it's good, and that's because they have a track record. Ian's first report though, like people probably didn't believe it. Schefter's very first report ever, you didn't. But you get enough of those, and you earn that cachet in the blind trust. Like when it's someone new, like the NFL Rams account or whatever. Like it's like chill, like wait and see,
Yeah,
it's not a disrespectful thing, but like they tweet that somebody's getting traded or something. It's like the first time you ever saw the account. Like
let it marinate, man.
Yeah, it's not a disrespectful thing to these people. It's just like if you're a new thing, you got to prove it, and once you prove it. And that's money in the bank, and you hit on your reports, and it's a slow process, and there's no shortcuts or anything like that. But that's been like, for me, it's just annoying because you see this stuff, and then like people ask me, and it's like I don't want to comment on. Like I don't know if they're right or wrong. I've never heard of them either. I'm gonna wait and see. Like, but yeah, they have getting a blind retweet. Like Ian reports on, like I'll retweet it and then go to confirm it. But like, it's just you gotta get that money in the bank.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it. It makes sense, man. If I see something from an account, I don't know. I just flat out don't believe it.
I'm not even saying to do that, but it's like you should. It's like I'm gonna.
Well, that's what I do.
Like if somebody else, yeah.
I just not don't believe it. I'm like I don't buy it until I see.
Right, that's checking the Amazon reviews on if Pepsi starts making a TV or something.
You texted me like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about getting the vaccine. You know anyone that got it?" Just to be sure.
What are these reviews on Moderna looking like?
Hey, we're not anti-vaxxers. We just want to be, we just want to like
5 stars they got. Yeah.
Like, man, I know a homie that got a friend that got a girlfriend that got the vaccine and she good. So we just got to get a few more of those stories, man. No, I'm with you though. I'm with you. I see those accounts. I'm like, oh, NFL tequila. Well, I'll just verify that account and see if Schefter agrees with it. So,
I hate seeing people misinformed. I kind of take it personally when I see like people being like misinformed.
Yeah, see, you just you look at you, man, just saving the football world one fan at a time, man.
It's like that. It's just there's a lot of work that goes into it, and like can't take shortcuts. That's all.
I'm with it. Like build your own website, build it from scratch, build a rapport with the fan base. No shortcuts around here, man. just authentic hard work. Watching
sign up. Let's get those signups up there in the show. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Name another reporter that watched every Drew Brees pass ever thrown, man. Just coming here talking about the 3 tight end sets with Brandon, whatever the kid Cooks on the outside. That was what? Gosh, that was 6 years ago, man. You're just gonna pull that off the top of your head like that. I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it. 6
years ago? What year was the Hume here?
He got traded. Well, Mike got drafted in.
So it would have been 15, I think.
15, and then he stayed 1 year and then got traded. So it was 15 or 16. Yeah, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that boy been he been around the league, man. It sounds like it might be again. So, but to the offense. So, good breakdown, man. That was an aside. That just that conversation like went off the rails. I'm bringing it back. So, I'm with you. I think that, and here's something that this is a really simple point. It's maybe it's a little oversimplistic, but I think there's some truth in it. And Mike had that crazy season, and he's had good seasons. Other than this last season, there's been no question about Mike Thomas. Like I've had no questions about Mike Thomas. Still, basically until this season. And I mean, I don't know if I have questions about him. He just didn't have the best year because of injuries. But I think that part of what contributed to, and Drew was good for Mike, no question. Like I said, he got Mike 20 M's and records and all this other stuff. He's still even after this season, he's still at the top of a lot of the record lists. So this talk about Drew hold Mike back is ridiculous. I think actually playing for Drew helped Mike because just due to the nature of where Drew was in his career when he got Mike, I think that, there's longer drives, right? You're not going to score off Deontay Harris 65-yard bomb too often with Drew Brees. And so you're forced to move the ball down the field like little by little. And so there's more passes kind of to be had for someone like Mike who can get open in short area because you don't have these big explosive plays where you can score, on a 70-yard play at any given time. So I think it actually helped Mike to some extent because, like I said, 15 yards at a time, you're actually going to have more opportunities to catch the ball. So it's a little oversimplified, but I think there may be some validity to it because, like I said, when you don't really have the explosive play for the most part, then you have to move the ball down the field, play by play, and you're going to have more opportunities to get open on those slants and hitches and whatnot. So,
yeah, no question. Right player for the right offense at the right time.
Exactly.
There's no question about it. And yeah, it's just the way that's been framed. I mean, yeah, obviously not going down the field. That's because of the quarterback. I think trading Brandon Cooks, there was a lot that went to it, but also, at that point, the offense had started to, if he had stayed on the team beyond that point, like I don't know that you would have been able to fully utilize Brandon Cooks, and I don't think that you want to start running him on those underneath routes when you have Mike run those underneath routes. Like
I'm with you. I don't think him and Mike would have coexisted neither. Just personally, I just don't. That didn't feel like a good fit.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, definitely two guys that wanted the ball though, and I think the ball went to the right person. Like there was,
no question about that decision because one guy's all pro and the other guy, gets traded every year. And I mean, and Cooks wanted his money and the Saints weren't willing to pay him. So look, you got Ryan Ramczyk for him. Woo! Like that worked out really well. So definitely they made the right decision. So to go a little bit further than the article went, I think I want to hear you talk about some of the players who could take advantage of, a quarterback who could maybe push the ball downfield, right? I mean, I know Deontay Harris was fast, but I mean, you recently wrote that he runs like a 4.35. I thought he was like a 4.4 for some. I don't know why I was thinking 4.4 in my head. 4.35 is super fast, and he was like one of the first guys I thought about saying, "Wow, man, these are
pro day. These are like pro day times."
Oh, right? So it's probably 4. Yeah, 4. It's 4.39 then, right? It's like a point something, but he's fast, right? I mean, I don't think people are treating him any different based on the pro days. So who are some of the guys who you think will maybe take a step up in the offense with a quarterback who can maybe push the ball downfield a little bit more. Harris obviously being one of those guys. And, you mentioned Mike.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that can. Actually, he's one. Marquez Callaway did a lot of work at Tennessee on go routes, corner routes, stuff down the field. So I think that's an aspect of his game that we maybe didn't see a whole lot of before. Traquan Smith was a really good downfield threat.
You stole my guy, man. That's what I was going to say.
He was it, and I think in college, I want to say there was something maybe yards per reception or yards per reception on some specific routes or something that like he was the best in the nation on.
Yeah, it was like Devery Henderson numbers or something. It was pretty crazy. Yeah.
So and that's a function of the offense that they ran. Where he went to college, but also he can get down the field and do a lot of stuff. So I think that there's a lot of players that they can stretch the field with. I don't think if you want that, Emmanuel Sanders is another one. Like, yes. I don't think that you need to go out and get a field stretcher just because we haven't seen it with some of these players. It doesn't mean that they don't possess that ability. So
absolutely,
that stuff's on the roster. It's just, they just need somebody to unlock it a little bit. And I think a lot of that stuff will come together. Like Deontay Mint, like, just go routes. There's no reason that he can't hit, a couple of those and have, a Joe Morgan type, yards per reception average. And, I think he can do a whole lot more than Joe Morgan too. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
He's shown some of the stuff on the underneath. He's surprisingly adept at, making catches over the middle, not taking a huge hit. So
he's fast and quick too, which is like,
he doesn't, the difference between him and a Brandon Cooks, like Brandon Cooks move very like mechanically, and Harris flows. It's there's an art to it, and it's not. He can make someone miss. That was always the weirdest thing about Cooks. We don't need.
He didn't know what to do when he had the ball. Like he got the ball and then he just started like looking around. Like he
kind of ran like Taysom, like it was very like straight. And for a guy like him, it should have been more, And he showed that in college too. There was a lot of like side to side and shiftiness, but he never had
that one crazy run in college. Remember that one where he broke like 8 tackles, and I was like, "Whoa, this guy's he's a yards after catch guy." And I just in my head when I see him, like I just think about like, man, that play where he got knocked out the Super Bowl. I'm not making light of this, but it's like he got the ball, and I feel like he didn't know what to do with it, and then someone just blindsided him, right? Because when you're indecisive in the NFL. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So, I think you mentioned, I think, pretty much every guy on their wide receiver, like I think Emmanuel Sanders is a bigger deep downfield threat than, maybe some Saints fans know because of the offense that he was in. Obviously, Deontay Harris is someone who I'm just dying to see in an offense where he can just run downfield because, having a guy that, stresses the defense vertically and a quarterback that can get the ball to them, it's going to make things easier for the quarterback, right? Because you're not going to have this condensed field, right? You're going to have more green to play with because the guys are going to have to respect more field, right? The first time, Jameis or Taysom throws the ball over one of them safeties' heads, that's on tape and guys are going to be thinking about that. And, I think that's, it was an issue with the Saints offense this year, right? Teams didn't have to defend a lot of green, right? You're defending from the line of scrimmage 30 yards back, right? And the defense has the advantage. And just the fact that the Saints were so good offensively for the most part with that limitation, I do think that, it's kind of going to benefit them. And they're going to need it because the next quarterback is not going to be as accurate as Drew. They're not going to be as football smart as Drew. They're not going to be as efficient as Drew. They're not going to be able to see things in real time as quickly as Drew. So any of those little advantages like that are going to make a big deal. You mentioned Marquez Callaway. Traquan is, I said that's the guy who I was thinking about. I was like, man, he did that in college. So yeah, it'll be fun, man. I think it's a fun time to kind of be a Saint fan or someone who covers a team. Because, they got a good team and a good foundation, and whoever's going to be quarterback has everything they need. Right?
It's fun if it works out.
Yeah. I guess that's one way to put it.
If it doesn't work out, it's not very fun.
Yeah, it's not going to be very fun. We need it to work out though around here. Like we really we need it. We need it to work out. Or they could just give up 3 firsts for Russell Wilson, man. You want to wildly speculate on that? That's the starting point. I was like, if you're the Jets, right? Yeah, good luck if you're picking in the 30s.
I dropped 3 for him. Easy.
Yeah. But they're not going to take 3 from the Saints. Like, wow. Yeah, that's like 3 seconds.
If that's the only like offer, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm pretty. That's
whoever
not the only
you
offer,
trade
though.
them to, like if it's the Jets, you got to assume that next year's pick is a playoff pick. Like you're getting one good one. They got 2 picks, right? But like
I don't know if Russ can bring the Jets to the playoffs, man.
Yeah, but if you're Seattle though, I think your analysis of it has to be like, okay, like if we trade him to someone and then next year that pick's like 22 or worse,
Yeah, he's going to elevate the team. Yeah.
Gosh, like you aren't getting 3 picks. You aren't getting like 3 picks in the top 10.
No, bro. Can we just like talk about the Texans real quick about this Larry Tunsil deal? Dude, they're picking. What does Miami pick? What they have? What the third or fourth pick, bruh? That is insane.
I've never understood the Easterby guy. As long as I've been aware of him, it was the weirdest position ever. I never understood why Belichick had him around even, but he was just like a team passer at the time. But I even thought that was a little bit like it's just his presence has always been a little bit weird. Like I don't know, but people seem to really like him. He seems to be able to garner influence really quickly. But
my gosh, man, that may be. I can't think of a worse trade.
Look, if it was between having a top 10 quarterback in his 20s on my team or like some dude that has no background in scouting, coaching, or anything, like come on, man.
Like, what are they thinking about, man? It's so crazy, man. It's so. And here's the deal. I'm sorry, I just got to spend like another minute on this. You trade for Larry Tunsil, and it's not a sign and trade, right? So what does that mean? That means that he has the most leverage of any player in NFL history. That's why that ridiculous contract exists, right? The market was here, and it was supposed to be here after the next guy, and now it's like up here, right? Because he was smart not to for it to be a sign and trade neither, because there's no way they're going to let him walk. You just gave up 2 firsts for him. So he basically wrote his own check. That's the first no. Second no, you keep this guy around, like you said, because Watson doesn't like him. The third thing is you got a top, I think the Dolphins are number 3, man. 2, 3, 4, whatever pick that they're picking in the NFL draft. Like, bro, when you make a trade like that, you got to know that you're going to be picking freaking like 20 or something, man. So I'm done. I just had to get that off. But that is brutal. That's like, there's no way I want to be on that team. Like, get me out of Houston, man. Get me out of Houston. So, anyway, we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see if like all these quarterback moves, like somebody ends up shaking free that was unexpected, or if there's a panic move. Like there could be an opportunity that ends up presenting itself that maybe you don't see right now. In the end, maybe it creates a way for the Saints to backdoor themselves into a situation that we maybe didn't see coming. I think they really like Jameis, but I don't think it's to the point where you close all doors to any. Yeah, I don't think you close your doors to any possibilities at this point, because you have an inside track to keeping Jameis Winston. If something shakes free, I think they'd still explore it. I think if something shook free in the draft, even after signing Jameis, they'd probably still explore it. So
they have to
until Jameis goes out and he throws for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. I think you keep your eyes open for the stuff that's out there, because you just don't know at this point. But I do think they really do like him. But yeah, it's not like with Drew Brees. I said it before. Like when you have Brees, like you get to earn lazy eyes. You don't have to wander. You can just look straight ahead all the time, and you can be blind peripherally. But when you don't have Drew Brees, like you constantly got to be looking every direction for any opportunity, because the importance of that position is just so pronounced that you have to.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I know Coach Payton made the point about, he made the whole talk about his sofa. We joked and laughed about that before. But yeah, he's just like, all these guys are going into a new home, these new places. It's not all going to work out. But, that doesn't mean that you turn down an opportunity to, to be honest with you, like, I don't put anything past this offseason to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, like when I saw Russell Wilson, I was like, okay, this is just some weird speculation. And then his comments, and I was like, oh well, someone's leaking this. Like, listen, he probably won't get traded, but it's coming from somebody close to someone.
Yeah,
right.
I think there's like kind of like an element here of like, I think NFL players want to have their situations work like NBA players, but I don't think it works like that. The way the contracts are, there's guaranteed money. You give them a signing bonus. The signing bonus stays with you. Like, teams aren't just going to trade you after giving you this huge signing bonus. And your power is extremely limited. Like, the union isn't strong, hasn't negotiated strong enough stuff for them to really have any real power. So, even Deshaun, like, what does Deshaun eventually do if they just say, no, we're not trading you? Like, they just start fining him $30,000 at a time, and he just either doesn't get paid, ends up owing money, or retires. Like, what are you going to do? Like, he's not going to retire. He's eventually going to show up when those fines start hitting. So it's just not the same. It's not, you can't do the James Harden thing and throw on a fat suit and get yourself sent out of town. Like, they'll just
NFL quarterbacks. I mean, very few guys in the NFL actually have leverage. Like, I would probably say the guy in the NFL right now with the most leverage is Dak Prescott. I think that guy has leverage.
Yes.
He has leverage because, and listen, if I was a quarterback, I don't blame Russell Wilson for what he's doing and saying, because if I was a quarterback, specifically a quarterback, and you never got me a good old line, I would probably have something to say about it. Now, I'm with it. I'm with it. So I think he makes a good point, but he doesn't, and he's under contract for, I think, another couple of years. So they can just, like you said, they can just not trade you, right? But I think
you know who else has a lot of leverage? There's two guys that have a lot of leverage right now, in Lattimore and Ramczyk, both of them, because the Saints cap situation is bad. They need them to sign extensions to lower those numbers. Those guys have leverage. Dak has leverage because they got to tag him, and it's going to be $37 million, I think, or whatever it is.
Good point. Yeah.
That's why you have leverage, because you can just hurt them financially, and they have to acquiesce to to get what you need.
That's a good point. Yep.
So that's how you get leverage in the NFL. But once you sign that contract and you got guaranteed, like,
game over.
Yeah.
Game over. Jalen Ramsey had crazy leverage. Same Larry Tunsil situation. Sign, no trade. All right, well, write the check. Because you basically, it's a blank check that you're giving the guy. So no, you make a good point about Lattimore and Ramczyk. And free agency is going to be so interesting this year. The Saints release Nick Easton. I think I think ESPN reporter Josina Anderson said that, maybe there's a situation where he returns. We'll see how that works. But, how did you perceive that move? Because, I'm thinking, he has, he had the concussions, and that's something that always scares you, right? And, listen, I hope the guy has best health for the rest of his life, obviously, but that's a serious situation. And, that's kind of something can scare a team away, right? And that's just the reality of football. But also, you have a rookie who struggled, and a left guard who struggled, for the most part. He didn't have a great year. And so you have two guys between the center who have been both hurt, right? And this guy's a pretty high-end backup for the most part, and they let him go. So how did you perceive that move? Is it just like, okay, it was salary, they had to dump it, or is it like a vote of confidence for, the rookie? They got to trust the investment. What's your feeling on that, on them releasing Easton?
I think injured player salary high just wasn't worth it. I don't think you can pay your six offensive linemen that much money when you do have these cap issues. So I think that you could probably, even without the injuries, I think that he kind of had to get let go, just because of the situation that they're in. Could you bring him back at a cheaper price? Yeah, sure, probably. And if that presents itself, he's healthy, he's cleared, I think that you can probably explore that. But that's probably your first cap move, and there's going to be a few of them through the offseason. I know that,
Yeah.
I think there's probably like a little bit of overconfidence in what they're going to be able to do among the fan base. Like, there are going to be some cap moves, and there's going to be probably a few guys that get let go that they, it's probably going to sting a little bit, but it's not going to be, I don't see the core going away. currently, and you never say never on anything. I don't see Lattimore getting traded. I just think that there's probably the preference is to sign him to an extension. Do they get that done? Then if it's a hard no and there's a huge gulf between the two sides, yeah, maybe that changes. But I think, right now I would be pretty surprised if he gets traded, but obviously that could change in time. But yeah, I don't see the core going away. But yeah, there are going to be a few cap moves, and that was domino one. And I think very quickly here, the league year is coming up a few weeks, 3 weeks away. I think that you're probably gonna start seeing some action sooner than later, for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm with it. And
again, you just got back from vacation, so that's another thing that I'd probably keep an eye on too sooner than later.
Yeah, he he was involved in a little news today. So prayers up to that guy in that situation. Guys, again, I want to point you to NewOrleans.Football because what we're talking about now, Nick wrote a whole article about it. The guys he would sign, guys he would extend, guys he would release. So it's a pretty informed article, thorough as usual. And I would just invite you guys to go read it.
Let's do some free agency stay or goes.
Okay. I was going to ask you a silly question before then because someone brought it up at the start. But let's go with it. I'm with it. I think that's better. We can do both. So you first.
Well, I'll throw out the first name and then just tell me what your thoughts are. Jared Cook.
Okay. I don't. So his contract is expired, right?
Well, they got to cut him before like the second day of the league year, or he gets I believe an $8 million roster bonus. So yeah, I mean he's essentially a free agent. Yes, there's no way he gets that total. So
yeah. See, I think I would cut Cook.
You got to cut him, yeah, at that price.
I think you got to cut him, and I mean, bring him back. I mean, I think he goes. I can see him going because you would like to think they have the offensive firepower, and like if you keep Cook, who are you losing? Right? Are you losing? I don't know, right? Is that would get you his salary? Does that bridge the gap between maybe two guys like maybe Lattimore and Ramczyk that you were negotiating with, or does that allow you to the difference between having Cook? Does really him not being there? Does that allow you to re-sign Marcus Williams or Trey Henderson? So with the year that he had, I don't think he's gonna be better without Drew. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm kind of a. I mean, he let me down a little bit. He broke my heart a little bit. So maybe this is a little biased because I thought he was going to be really good this year. But right now, and that fumble is brutal. It's hard to just ignore the year that he had. And yeah, I'm just a no right now. I'd just be a no. If they can bring it back at maybe a lower price, if the market is not there, I would get it. But yeah, right now I'm probably a no on Cook. Just because you got so much other stuff that I think is more important. And you just drafted a young tight end. See what he can do.
I would 100% bring him back at the right price.
Oh, yeah, right price.
Yeah, or somebody. I mean, look, I understand the confidence in Adam Troutman, and he did some things I liked. But at the same time, he's a guy that had 171 yards last year, and putting him in that tight end one role, he might fulfill it. He might not. I wouldn't be shocked either way. Like if he struggles next year as a receiver, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And the one thing too that kind of stands out there is that in college he was an athlete who caught a lot of passes, and he blocked better than he was a receiver this year, which was surprising. Which I think on one hand that's encouraging, but on the other hand 171 yards. And some of those moments were electric, and he might build upon them and become really good really quickly. Whole offseason might help a whole lot. But until I know that, I would have a safety net. And I wouldn't pay Cook a lot of money, but if I could get him back for $2 million or something, I would 100% keep him. He's a good $2 million player.
If you can get him for $2 million
tight end or whatever, no. I would not pay him what he was on the books for. I don't think that he lived up to the contract this year even.
So here's what I would ask you, right? Because if you can get Cook for $2 million, then you do it, obviously. Would you sign him would you bring him back at $6 million?
No, I probably wouldn't. No, I'd roll the dice with what I got because look, and that's the stuff that's going to have to happen this year too. And it's just a reality of the cap situation that these luxuries, these middle tier players, that's where you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt on the middle class. So you're going to have high end players and low end players. The good thing is that like your high end players are a lot better than they were the last time you had to shed the middle class of your roster back in 2014. Well, sorry, 2015 is when that kind of started. So I don't think it's going to be that same deterioration, but in some of these spots, you are going to have to gamble with younger players just because of the way it went. And that kind of brings us.
What's the most you're willing to pay for Cook before you move on?
I'd probably go 2 or 3. Like honestly, like, and I think his play kind of, maybe I'm extremely undervaluing him, but I kind of feel like that's where it would be.
When I said cut Cook, my thinking was like, I don't want to pay him anything over like $6 million. But for two, then bring him back.
I don't know what's out there for him. He's an older guy who kind of had a bad season. I think there's like this theory of Jared Cook that we even became intoxicated by, and I think the league has been intoxicated by like the potential, but like
it never. Yeah, even like it's flashed at times, but it's just like never been something you could just kind of continuously get out of him. And
he's played with a ton of good quarterbacks too, man. Like,
yeah, I think after not being able to do it in New Orleans with a Sean Payton offense, and it's just been like some of the drops. One of the interceptions Drew threw, it bounced off of him. Then he fumbled the ball. It's just hard to purge those thoughts from your mind. I think Andrew Brent tweeted like when the Bucs won the Super Bowl, he was like, man, that Jared Cook fumble was, if that didn't happen, maybe we're not sitting here right now. And I think that's probably, that's a fair take. So, all right.
Maybe if they would have scored on the short fields, maybe if,
momentum was going, momentum is real, man. And like they had it and then they lost it and then they never got it back. But I you never know, but it is a question.
They beat themselves that game.
Yeah.
All right. Next guy, Sheldon Rankins.
Man, it depends on the price. It just depends on the price, man. I feel like I'm gonna keep going back to this. Like, I think it makes sense for Sheldon Rankins to come back here 1 year. If the money isn't there, but I don't think I would spend much of anything for him because, and I was a guy, I'm on record of being a fan of his, but look, he's been here for 5 years. He had 1 good year. That's just he's been hurt every year except for this year, which he was coming off a hurt year. He was coming off like having to have preemptive surgery on his Achilles. So that's 2 Achilles situations he's dealt with. He's been hurt every year. I don't see how you pay this guy. And I don't mean that to be rude, but it's risk. And again, I'm a no there because I would rather spend that money on maybe securing someone else who play has been more consistent. So if you can get him back at a lower salary, he's a year removed. Maybe he plays better, but like nothing significant financially at all.
I've kind of had to change of heart on this in recent days. And if I'm Sheldon, I might even, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this, but if I'm Sheldon, I might try to go prove it somewhere else if I got to sign a prove it deal just because of how often they went to a 3-man front in some passing situations, which I don't think
benefits him
best for him. Yeah. In those situations.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe coming back, it would be the best thing if there's no market out there. If I'm the Saints, I would bring him back if the market doesn't bear fruit, and he's low on options. He's got to come back. Yeah. I think the Saints should definitely. I think it would be interesting though for Sheldon. He said the thing on Sirius XM about like, team know they're getting the 2018 version.
Nah, bro. No, they don't.
I don't know.
Like, you'll be paid already if that was the case.
Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. And it's his body, he's born with a deformity. He's been dealing with that for 2 years. I'm not going to doubt the man. Maybe it is there, but yeah, you got to see it before you pay for that. So
based on
he might have to. Yeah, he might have to prove it, and if he does, it'll be interesting to see how he approaches that. Because honestly, like Onyemata at this point might even deserve to out snap, in some of those situations. So
yeah, I think you got to get that guy. That guy's still ascending, right? And I don't know if Sheldon Rankins is an ascending player, right? And he's not better than Onyemata. So, and here's the thing I would say, right? If they went to a 3-man front, I don't think they would be doing that as much if they felt like they had
that's a fair point. Yep.
Yeah, it's like if you were dominating inside, then they would put you in the game. So yeah, I mean, and listen, I was the biggest Rankins fan, but I call it like I see it too, and I just think that, I mean, if nothing else, the injury history, you're never going to like fully commit to him with a big long-term deal because of the injuries. So yeah, that's just one of those. That's one of those. Yeah, I have to pass on that one.
Keeping through the list, Craig Robertson. I think that's probably an easy. Yeah, if the money's right. He's a good locker room guy. Let's go to PJ Williams.
Ooh, can I put a contingent upon another player who plays the same position as him? I think if you can bring PJ back, you do. PJ is a good. I'm about to steal your point and just get annoyed, make the Nick annoyed face. But when you talk about the middle of the roster guys who you start to lose when you got to make salary cap decisions, this feels like one of the ones that can possibly end up in that category. And I don't think it's good for the Saints because PJ Williams is a valuable player. He plays corner, slot, strong, and free safety. Excuse me? Like that. And I would be prioritizing bringing him back because he can kind of cover for a bunch of different guys. Like he is kind of like one of those players I could see them saying, you know what? This is one of the guys that we know can fill multiple slots, right? So if I don't have a free safety or maybe a backup corner where I got a guy that can do both. And I don't know, man. I just feel like they should find a way to keep him. He's not a great player, but he's a solid player in a pinch and he can get the job done. And I would definitely bring PJ back.
So maybe the flip to that point is like if you can pay a guy to be okay at a bunch of different things, maybe you pay him and you shed other guys and you don't carry the same depth at some of those positions because you can knock them off. It's going to be interesting to see how they construct their roster. I know they like the young cornerbacks on the team. The guy that played for the Giants that got the pick.
Oh gosh, God, I can never remember this kid.
Keith
name.
Washington's the other one.
Keith, I know Keith because he got the same. He KW, man. I mean, come on, you know he's good. Like, let's put some respect on his name, man.
But I know they like both those guys, so I think they're probably comfortable with that depth. But yeah, I mean, look, PJ is someone that catches a lot of stuff from fans, and I understand. But like, is somebody that's not a starter that can come off the bench and do all this different stuff? Yeah, there's value there, and
it is value there. Yeah,
yeah. If you can like, and again, like people, he's like $1 million player. Like, there's no reason
we're
to
not
hate
giving
on the guy
PJ no money.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the minimum. They killing me in the comments right now. I'm just looking over here. They're like, dude's hitting my nuts.
Someone saying that Grant Haley saying, look, he got the highest futures contract in the NFL. Like, that's how they like him. I'm just telling you what they think about him. You know, I've seen Grant Haley play in one game. I saw him get a pick. I saw him get beat a bunch of times in the same game.
A bunch of times.
Yeah. So look, but that's how they feel about it. They like him. So they're giving him a chance. They're going to bring him back. They gave him a lot of money to come back. They're going to see what they have in him. So does he make the team? I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah.
They're telling you with their moves that they like the player, and
exactly.
That's not an opinion. I'm just telling you what they think.
I would like to apologize to all the PJ haters who I just upset. By the way, I don't want no problems with none of y'all.
He's $1 million player. He's $1 million player.
I'm thinking like vet minimum. $2 million at most, right? You guys are like killing me. So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm here for peace, man.
Keeping it going. Marcus Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The great equalizer. The great equalizer. I don't really know what to say about Marcus. He had a great year. His best year. He's been good every year. The tackling had its moments. You guys, there's an article on NewOrleans.Football. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Talking about the exact thing we're talking about it now. Talking about now way more in depth. So go check it out. But yeah, I don't know what to say about him. He's been a good free safety every year. He had times where he's maybe bust some coverage and made some mistakes, but every safety does. I don't have a lot to say. Yes.
Yeah, I keep him obviously.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about it the other day. The safety market and a lot of safeties being out there might help
Yeah.
keep that
Yeah.
price down to the point. And then, even if he overprices, there'll be other options that they can probably get. Maybe not quite as good, but there's going to be plan Bs if they feel the need to address that position. Door number 3 is the fact that they do draft safeties pretty well here.
That's fair.
Going back for a handful of years, it's a position they evaluate well. Maybe something else shakes free, but in a world where Marcus is affordable, and if that safety market knocks down his price even just a little bit due to the bulk of them,
You jump on that, man.
yeah,
Yeah, you
he's been a
jump on
very
that.
good player for them. And
I'm getting like, man, you just made me think like, I can definitely see them like looking at the safety market this year and saying, there's so many, like we can get a guy who's a notch below or notch lower than him for maybe a little bit cheaper. I can see them making that decision. Now
no,
that
absolutely.
now that you bring that up, and because he's a good young safety now, like make no mistake about it, he's a good young safety. He may get more than all those guys. I don't know. Maybe the Justin Simmons kid gets more, but I don't know. I need to look at the list again.
I think he's going to get paid more. Yeah.
I think he might get franchise tagged or something. But yeah, I'm definitely, if we can keep Marcus, I will probably keep him over the guy he's probably about to ask me about next. So yeah.
No, I'm not going to ask you who you think next. Justin Hardy.
Yes.
Easy.
Please bring him back.
Hardy could possibly get paid a little bit more. I think there's some teams that like him as a corner.
He's elite at what he does. Like
as a gunner, yes. But I think there's some teams that like him as a corner as well, and he's gotten better as a corner over the years. I think not having a preseason probably hurt him a little bit and just getting his price up. But man, he had a really good camp at corner, and he's been getting better at that position. So he might get more money than expected. But yes, he is unbelievable on special teams. I covered Matthew Slater, who's going to be a Hall of Famer on special teams. I'm not saying like there's a very long path to go. Becoming a Hall of Famer on special teams is borderline impossible. Winning 6 Super Bowls or however many he was a part of helps lift that up. So there's a lot that goes into that. But Hardy is,
he's elite.
It's not outrageous to like say like Matthew Slater's really good, Justin Hardy, next on your list. Like he's that good at special teams.
Yeah, he's elite at what he's one of the best players at the NFL at what he does. And
I'm not knocking JT Gray here, but like having Justin Hardy help JT Gray earn an All-Pro.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, no, I can.
Hardy gets doubled like a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Gray does sometimes too, but Hardy gets doubled a lot.
Gray's good. No, I'm not.
Gray's awesome.
He's really good, but he ain't Hardy though. I mean, Hardy.
Yeah. And I'm sure having Gray helps Hardy too. Like it's a hand in hand thing. But yeah,
he's so good, man. He's a guy who I can definitely see them not being able to afford. Now, I can definitely see.
I think you got to find a way.
Man, that's in the year where the cap is what it is.
He kept an injured Thomas Morstead's Met in the top. I think it was like 11th or 12th. Like, and it shouldn't have been.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I can see someone paying him maybe like more than what the Saints, and just like, I mean, someone like Belichick would probably just come and sign JT Hardy because Hardy, he's like one of those detailed guys who understands like what he does. And like, I don't think all coaches are like nuanced enough to know that, special teams players like I remember you would always say like the Patriots had guys who all they did was special teams. Like you might have been drafted as a cornerback. You're no longer a cornerback. You're a special teams player. There's no second position. You do this all practice.
Yeah, they don't even practice. Like Slater doesn't even practice anything else. He just practices it being a gunner the whole entire practice, start to finish. Yeah. Wow. And it's just like him doing stuff on his own, and like other guys will rotate through. Like, it's like somebody else is a special teams player to like drill with them, and they'll drill with them and they'll go to something else. And it's just kind of like people coming through the whole time. But like, yeah, that's all they do. There's no cross positional. They treat special teams as if a gunner is as important as a wide receiver. Yes.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, man. I mean, let's move on to the next player, but he is elite at what he does. I would love to keep Justin Hardy. Like, love to. No question.
Jameis Winston.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to, because there's not another. Yeah, there's not another plan yet. So you have to plug those holes. 100%. You keep him.
I got a question for you after we get through this list. I got a good question for you, man. And I'm not going to answer. I'm just going to ask you to answer it.
Dwayne Washington, someone I would keep.
Yeah, if you can, Lord. I mean, he's not going to be expensive. He's a special teamer. Yeah. You can bring him back. Yeah, it's not going to cost you much.
Michael Burton, same thing.
Same thing. I was about to say, just add the fullback to that list. Craig Robertson, Michael Burton, all those guys, they all belong in the same.
I think James Hurst you got to keep.
He's important to keep. I think.
Yeah, especially without Easton. Yeah, he becomes your unless you're going to go out and target Senio Clemente, who got cut today, or somebody like that. Like,
you still need Easton. You still would need Hurst. I mean, Hurst is your backup tackle, backup guard. I mean, Clemente is too. But yeah, I think you got to keep Hurst if you can, man. You just need guys like that, veterans who can play multiple positions. He shouldn't cost you a lot neither. So bring him back.
Alex Anzalone. Come on, man.
I just don't know what to do with him. I have no idea. Like, there's so many factors. Like, they got these two kids who I forget their names. They're young Hanson, and then there's another one. Name starts with an L, I think. That they, maybe feel like can be something. Quan Alexander, are they gonna, he's not gonna be ready for the start of the season. Are you gonna trust these two kids who you don't know? You don't want to be starting crazy. I mean, if you can bring him back for like the Jared Cook price, then I'm cool with it. But you can't pay him. You can't pay him at all. Like, I'd rather start Zach Bond at middle linebacker and DeMario at will than to pay Anzalone anything significant. Even like a middle contract is too much. Like, I just don't see how. If you can just get him for a low cost, then he's a bridge player. You're going to be always looking to replace him at this point. So,
Chase Hansen, they like Andrew Dow's another guy. They like, he was on the practice squad.
Caden Ellis is still around.
Does he factor in at will though? Like, I don't think Caden Ellis necessarily does. Like, what is Zach Bond? That's another factor in this. Like, is he somebody that's going to be able to play off the ball? If he is, if he can be your middle linebacker like they envisioned him, then you have DeMario over there, and can you roll with them and Dow, Hansen? I don't know. Zach Bond is an extremely huge question mark to me. I mentioned on the last pod, like, do you look at him as a pass rusher at this point? Does he help you with that stuff?
All the rookies, man. Like, this year. I don't know, man.
But Anzalone, my approach would be play the market, see what happens.
There's got to be like 20 Anzalones out there, though.
Yeah, but if it gets to the point you got to have one, you'd rather have your own than somebody else's.
Yeah, that's true. He knows his team, and that's true. It's gonna be another reduced off season, so you don't want to. I'm with it, but just not at a significant. Same thing with PJ and Cook. Like, if the cost is low, then bring them back, but don't splurge on those guys.
Let's see who else we got here. Well, I think the last JT Gray's restricted. That's easy. Well, Clout's restricted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Trey.
Trey.
Here's mine. I'll make it quick and easy. Like, obviously, if you have the money, sure. And if the price isn't crazy, sure. But if the price is crazy, and
what do you mean crazy price? Like, be specific here.
Like, I would pay him like a 6-sack guy.
How much is that?
It's half as much as a 13-sack guy. 45%. I would not pay him like a 13-sack player.
You'll give Trey $10 million. You'll give Trey $10 million a year.
I don't even think I pay that.
$10 million. Would I go $10 million? He's gonna get 10 million from somebody. So if he resigns, it'll be for 10 million. Someone's
I
gonna
don't
give him
think it's
10
worth.
million.
I don't think it's. I think this is one of those decisions where you got to be okay with whatever happens. And if he becomes like a legitimate player somewhere else, fine.
Take the comp pick and move on.
It's not a knock on. He just outplayed the situation for what they can afford. I don't think you can afford to pay somebody $10 million that isn't drawing double teams, that isn't making other players better, isn't getting pressure at that kind of rate. It's
I
just
think you gotta force. I think you're gonna have to
play the run.
Yeah, that's true too. I think you got to just. I mean, I don't think you can pay him for a few reasons. One, the salary cap, the situation they're in, and two, like you said, he doesn't draw double teams. He's not raising the level of play of the guys around him. He's not someone you can move around really, so you're not getting this versatile player. Yeah, he's pretty much a one-dimensional player who you can target in the run game. Yeah, I just don't think in a regular offseason, I would be debating it. In this one, it's even more so a tougher decision. So I just think you take the comp pick, let someone pay him. You invested a lot in 92, force him on the field. You got Grandison back there, maybe Bond. You brought this up. I think it was last pod. It was a great point. Maybe Bond can slide into that role and eventually develop. I just think you got a few guys in house and you got some options, and I just don't know if this is the year that you can pay a guy like maybe not paying him allows you to keep Hardy and maybe re-sign a Cook on a super low deal. Super low deal, guys. Don't kill me. Re-sign PJ low, re-sign Angeloni low, right? So you can maybe fill out some things or maybe make Marshawn and Ramczyk happy with that money. I don't know. It just feels like a tough contract.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get the third round pick back. Is probably how that's going to turn out. And again, we've said this a million times. Like Davenport not being it hurts a lot. This is where nobody saw a pandemic coming, but like the guy that you invested 2 first round picks in you shouldn't be debating like where is there a hole at defensive end? Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's got to convert. He's got to learn to convert.
We can't live in the flashes anymore, man. The pictures develop. Like
the problem in this, you're right. You're so right. And it's 2 problems. One, he needs to convert these pressures to sacks because the pressure rate is the highest on the team, other than DeMario, which he's a linebacker. But also, it's too sporadic. It runs hot and cold. Also, right? He disappears at times, and he flashes at times. It's so. Who he's who I think I'm afraid that his career path is going to end up like. I think it may end up something like a Clowney, where you have this guy who, I think they may have to shift to using him as like a movement player.
You'd be thrilled if you became Clowney though. Like
Clowney sucks. Clowney sucks, man. Clowney's not good. I don't think Clowney's worth double.
I think he's better than Davenport though. Like if Davenport, what he is right now, next year was Clowney, you would be thrilled with that outcome.
Clowney
if you got a
he can't rush the passer. Clowney can't rush the passer at all.
But he's impactful in some ways. Like
he wasn't this year.
Yeah, but I mean historically, like if next year Davenport gave you Clowney production, you'd be happy with it. You would be happy with
it. What I'll say.
The Saints pursued this player to replace the other player we're talking about. So
yeah, and that was a blessing in disguise.
Maybe in the system it would have worked out. But there was a reason they were attracted to him over, and they were going to be willing to take snaps away from Davenport.
And they didn't know Trey was going to be Trey. So I'm with you. But here's why I said Clowney, and then you can crucify me for saying this. Clowney is effective. I mean, Clowney can have production. So let me backtrack there because I don't want to sound crazy. You're right. Clowney, he does have these moments where like he's looking good. The problem is it has to be schemed. It always has to be schemed. He doesn't line up over a right tackle or a left tackle and create.
I know who he is as a player. I'm just saying Davenport has been so inconsistent that you would be pleased if he became Clowney next year. Because you could at least get something consistently out of him.
I think that I don't know how far. I think he can do that now, to be honest with you. Listen, when he's stunting, he's amazing. Like I think I tweeted when I was like, man, they should just stunt Davenport every play. I think he can do that. I think but I think you need to know that he's not a hand in the ground pass rusher before you transition him to that type of player. And that's the point I'm trying to make. And so I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. If you can get Clowney's production out of Davenport last year, like maybe the last year he was in Houston, heck yeah. But it's how does he get to that production? If he gets to that production the same way that Clowney gets, then as a player, he's a disappointment because he's not someone who you can line up over a tackle and get pressure. But if he gets that production,
I think the disappointment in the investment in the 2 picks is already established. Like I'm past that. Like it's just like get something.
Okay. No, I get where you're coming from. Then I get where you're coming from. But you get what I'm saying. It's like when you draft that guy and you give up what you gave up for him. And gosh, I hate the 2 first narrative because it's all, but it's there. You can't avoid it. You don't want to have to like scheme this guy as a pass rusher. That's just not that's a bad look. And if that's what he becomes, then it's better than nothing. And I'm with you on that. I'm 100% with you. But it would be a huge disappointment if you have to get him pressure that way, especially when he's shown at times that he can get pressure by being a traditional pass rusher. Because I think he's already a better traditional pass rusher than Clowney. Clowney is not good at that.
He might be, but he might not. Like he might. I don't know. It's some games he is, some games he ain't. Like it's just not.
But Clowney never is. He's never just lining up and just eating your left tackle.
But the difference is that like when they scheme stuff for him, he's more consistent. He gets more pressure, and it's there consistently. And if you have to go in the game with that plan every single time, like sometimes Davenport's going to deliver, and sometimes he's not. And when he hits, it's extremely impressive. Like I said, we've lived in those flashes for a long time. We tried to take those flashes and develop them into a picture, and be patient, and it just hasn't worked. Like it's I don't know. Like
no, I'm with you, man.
Maybe next year is the year. I don't know, but like I'm not going to talk about it like it could be anymore. Like that's over. Like I'm
done with it. Yeah, I'm done with I'm done with it, man. Even
the fact that you even have to debate paying the fact that Trey Hendrickson can get 13 sacks on a defense where this other dude was paid or not paid, invested into the point.
It's bad.
He shouldn't have the opportunity.
It's a bad look, bro. It's a bad look. No, he's a disappointing player. No question. I mean, basically, Davenport and Ruiz, you could have got Russell Wilson. You want the 3 first, but there you go. So I mean, no, I'm with you, man. You make a perfectly valid point. I just think it would be it's hard for me to take my mind off the fact that if that guy becomes like a Clowney type player, I haven't thought about it that far ahead. Like, like you're a little bit more detached from it maybe than I am, but like, man, that would be a bad look. That'd be a bad look. So to finish off, I got one silly question for you. Well, actually, no, this question, I got it. This is what I want to ask you because I thought about it when you were talking. Do you think, man, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. How important do you think it is that they re-sign Jameis Winston? Like, just how important do you think it is?
Well, I think it's like him specifically. I mean, I don't know if it's, it depends. Like what's behind door number 2, but I think it's critically important that they sign somebody before the draft.
I'm talking about him specifically. So you kind of like maybe not with him in the middle a little bit because the question go ahead.
It's hard for me to have like a level of urgency with it because I don't know what they see in him yet. So I think he could be really good. Teams like who they like. Frank Reich. He had to have Carson Wentz, and they're extremely excited about him. Other people didn't.
I'm rooting so hard for him, bro.
Yeah, and if you see it and you like it, it makes sense. Like that's your guy, go get it. If that's who Jameis is for the Saints, then it's extremely important. Go get him. Like keep him, do whatever it takes. But and it seems to be that's the case. I think that they liked him more than Matthew Stafford and some other. Then that's telling that you're willing to ride with who you got. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really throw that on a scale, but if
not a
they
fair
like
question.
him, yeah, I think it's very important if they like him as much as if Sean's being truthful about how much he likes him, then I think it's very important.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, is it more important to keep him or extend maybe a Ramczyk or a Lattimore?
Well, I'd have to go with the other guys on you know.
Okay.
Just I know what they are. I know what they like. I think keeping the Ramczyk's huge. I think that's a huge level of importance. Lattimore, I think. Look,
they gotta keep him.
When you're in their cap situation, I don't know if you have as many options. Like it's either so if you trade them, what do you do? Like? Are you starting Keith Washington?
Yeah, who's your cornerback?
Right.
Yeah, who is your cornerback? Like a lot of teams would love a Marshawn Lattimore.
You could maybe draft somebody, I don't know, but a cornerback at the end of the first round. But like, what are you trading them for? What's the trade compensation?
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
If you got a plan, sure. But like, I think given the situation they're in, I think that you get the cap relief, you keep the player, and
everybody wins.
Yeah.
Situation. Yeah. All right. All right. Who's better, theoretical Jameis or theoretical Davenport? I mean, I'm sorry, theoretical Taysom. I'm sorry, theoretical Taysom or theoretical Davenport.
The snowball guy's going to be real mad that we're talking about Davenport. So I think theoretical Davenport should be like a monster pass rusher. Look, I'm not gonna lie, like I was excited watching him when they drafted him.
Me too.
The stuff he did in college, his athletic traits, all that stuff, and I'm a sucker for like prospects with athletic traits, especially at edge, because you just see all the stuff they can do, and you kind of paint this picture in your head of what they can do.
Yeah.
And again, it hasn't become that. He's rushed well, he gets pressure, all that stuff. It's just it needs to convert more. Theoretical Jameis could be like the best quarterback in the league, though.
I mean, I meant Taysom. My bad. I said Jameis. I meant Taysom.
Oh, I'm going with theoretical Davenport in that one.
Okay, yeah, me too. Okay, then do Jameis. Do Jameis.
Theoretical Jameis, man, like great pocket passer. Yeah, look, he's lost some weight. I saw a picture of him the other day. It looked like he was trimmed down a little bit.
Okay, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, theoretical Jameis is extremely. He was picked number one off the theory, and
that's a good point. He was picked off the theory. Okay, and just one more thing on Jameis. I know you went and did a lot of Jameis work when they signed him, and I'm gonna go back and do some more this offseason because I think he's gonna be the starter. Like, how do you feel? Man, we need to end this pod. Goodness, we need to end this pod. How do you feel about his accuracy? Like, are you somewhat concerned about it, or I don't know. That's something that's like lurking in the back of my mind. Like, how accurate is he? And that's something I haven't been able to put my fingers on yet.
I think it's generally fine. I think that will get better too in this offense. I think, obviously the scheme you're in, and Sean does a good job of scheming open. Yeah. Accurate throws. He's going to become more timing based. So I think his accuracy is fine, except for the 30 throws. Like the 30 and a few others. But yeah, I think that would get better. I think he'd be more controlled. And they preach to check down here too. It's not like always pushing it forward. And I think all that stuff, you take safer throws. I think when you try to be too safe, you see some of the freezing, like you saw with Teddy 2 years ago, Taysom last year. But I think he gets comfortable and it gets into the flow. I think they'll do a good job of helping him become a more accurate passer.
Okay, I'll say this. This may sound a little crazy. If he's as accurate as Taysom showed, I think you take that.
Oh yeah,
I think you take that. But yeah, all right, man. Well, guys, we we had a bye week, took a week off, came back, got our game together, recorded a longer pod for you guys. So maybe this is like 2 pods in one. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. So hopefully you guys forgive us for having lives, and we have no lives no more. We back to weekly no life. So make sure you are no lifing your way to NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. A few of the things we spoke about tonight, there are full-fledged articles written about them. So make sure you read those. Nick, again, I told you he managed to write an article in 30 seconds after the Strief situation got announced. So make sure you go read that article that is impossible to write in 30 seconds, but he managed to pull it off. Yeah, make sure you guys go to YouTube and support us also, man. Like and subscribe. That really helps. Man, I'm happy because I have electricity and stuff. So real quick before I go, don't take the little stuff for granted. Like not having to boil your water, getting heat out of the walls of your house, being able to drive a car, man. Just appreciate it, man. You never know when it can be taken away. So you guys stay safe, and thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week. We out.